This video covers secure remote access. Remote access to OT environments is a necessity in modern operations. Vendors need to diagnose equipment, engineers need access from the control center to remote sites, and operators sometimes need to monitor processes from outside the facility. The goal isn't to eliminate remote access. The goal is to ensure every remote access session is authenticated, encrypted, limited in scope, and logged. Unsecured remote access is one of the most consistently exploited entry points in documented OT incidents. The patterns are well known, the attacks are largely automated, and the fixes are straightforward. Let's go through a few of them. A VPN, or virtual private network, creates an encrypted tunnel between two endpoints over a network that may be on trusty internet, a cellular carrier network, or a shared WAN. Everything inside the tunnel is encrypted. Someone who intercepts the traffic between the two endpoints sees only the encrypted tunnel, not the contents. Without a VPN, credentials and data transmitted over an untrusted network are readable by anyone who can intercept traffic. A vendor dialing into an OT system over an unencrypted internet connection exposes their credentials and all session data to interception. Remote users accessing OT resources should connect via VPN to the DMZ. From the DMZ, with appropriate firewall rules in place, they access the specific OT resources their work requires. The VPN handles encryption of the transport path. The firewall and DMZ architecture handles access control to OT systems. Always-on VPN connections that remain active continuously, 24 hours a day without human intervention, are a risk. They represent a persistent path into your network that can be exploited whenever the remote end is compromised, regardless of whether anyone is actively using it. This is precisely what happened in the SolarWinds supply chain attack. Vendors with trusted access became entry points into customer networks. Session-based VPN, where access is established for a specific session and terminated at the end, is the correct model for vendor access. A jump host is a hardened, monitored server that serves as a mandatory intermediate point between remote users and OT resources. Remote users connect to the jump host first, authenticate, and from the jump host they access OT resources. The OT resources only accept connections from the jump host's IP address, not from the internet or the corporate network directly. The security value of a jump host comes from centralization. All remote access funnels through one monitored point. Every session is recorded, keystrokes, commands, screen activity, creating an audit trail. If a vendor's credentials are stolen and used to log into the jump host, the attacker's activity is logged. The subsequent connection from the jump host to the OT resources still faces the OT boundaries firewall controls. The attacker is in the jump host in the DMZ, which is in a controlled environment, not inside the OT network. Jump hosts also simplify auditing. Instead of reviewing logs from every individual OT device for evidence of remote access activity, all remote activity is recorded in that one place on the jump host. Multi-factor authentication requires two or more independent factors to authenticate. Something you know, like a password, plus something you have, maybe a hardware token, an authenticator app that generates time-based codes, or a smart card. There are other factors you can also implement, but those are the ones we'll consider for today. MFA stops credential-based attacks even when a password has been stolen. Credential stuffing, using stolen username password combinations from other data breaches to attempt logins, is one of the most common automated attack techniques targeting remote access systems. It works because many people reuse passwords across accounts. MFA stops it because the attacker has the password, but they don't have the second factor. For OT remote access, MFA should be required on all accounts without exception. This applies to vendor accounts, engineer accounts, and administrator accounts. Remote Desktop Protocol on port 3389 provides an interactive Windows session to a remote machine. It's the most common way to provide remote access to HMIs, engineering workstations, and Windows-based SCADA servers. When RDP is exposed directly to the internet, port 3389, accessible from any external IP address, it becomes a highly visible target. Automated scanners will find these open RDP ports within minutes of exposure. Credential stuffing tools continuously attempt logins with known username-password combinations. Brute force tools try common passwords at high speeds. Documented OT incidents have started with a single internet-exposed RDP port that used default or weak credentials. An operator who set up vendor access quickly and didn't restrict the source IP or require a VPN opened the door. The correct model. No OT device has direct RDP exposure to the internet, ever. Remote access for vendors and engineers who need RDP to an OT machine follows this sequence. VPN to the DMZ, authenticate with MFA, connect to the jump host in the DMZ. From the jump host, use RDP to reach the OT asset within the controlled internal network. The OT asset's RDP firewall rule permits connections only from the jump host's IP address, nothing else. In the next video, we'll cover firewall logging and how logs turn a barrier into a detection tool and what patterns in the logs are worth investigating.